This is Girish Ahuja, who has worked in advertising and is currently working in banking. So, Girish, why don't you tell us what did you study and what courses did you take?
Hi. So yeah, I started my education in my graduation in commerce with in NM College, and subsequent to that, I did my MBA also in NMIMS, specializing in marketing.
All right. So, what is your main, no, which organize, what is, what, can you give us a brief of your career?
Sure. So I was fairly clear even in my in NMIMS days that I was really attracted to the advertising industry, and that's where I wanted to make my career. And I got placed with J. Walter Thompson out of my campus in media, where I spent a few years, and subsequent to that, I spent some time with Lintas. And I, at that point in time, media was fairly new at that point in time, and the entire focus used to be on creative. It's not like how it is today. So media was just turning a corner. The media industry was just turning a corner at that point in time, and I was also fairly clear that I needed an international career, which landed me in the Middle East. Subsequent to Middle East, I held positions in Central Europe, and then came back to Middle East.
All right.
And I was with J. Walter Thompson, Universal McCann, Mindshare, etc.
All right. So, how do you use technology as a banker, and how do you think technology will impact your run of business?
So, just to sort of simplify, banking was never a consumer facing industry like advertising is. Banking has always been more about systems, processes, ensuring that, risk management, of course. And what one has seen in terms of digital transformation that has taken place recently is that banking is increasingly becoming a highly customer centric industry. So if I have to divide three buckets, and I'm speaking more in terms of retail banking here, it's more about providing the customer uh, ease of doing business with the bank, wherein technologies like biometrics come into place. It's about uh, adding value to the customer, which is where platform banking and tie-ups, etc., come into place, the entire network effect. And then the third is personalization of banking, which is understanding the customer, and that's where your analytics, CRM, and those sort of things come into place. So it's essentially three buckets: the ease of doing business, the value you add to the customer, and how well you know your customer. And each of these things, digital is making rapid strides.
All right. So, what do you think are the skills it takes to be a successful banker?
I think that's changing given the focus on digital. So what was relevant yesterday is not really likely to be relevant now. Banking industry was highly focused on numbers, and rightly so. And obviously, it goes without saying that you need to have financial acumen, etc. But increasingly, it's, as I said, since it's becoming more customer facing, you really need to have your technology chops. You really need to understand in the entire cycle of acquiring customers, retaining customers, and building your book with customers, how digital can play an important role. So having a really strong focus on digital and understanding of digital is going to become extremely critical.
Okay. So, what guidance do you have for for a student who wishes to work in the finance field today?
I think increasingly, the focus is becoming broadly more on the fintech area. So while you see banks now as being front end, banks may be relegated to the back end, if I have to use the word, just the way earlier you could order food from a restaurant and now you have aggregators like Swiggy and Zomato, and who you would become your first destination of ordering food. The same is likely to be the case with banking services. So I think you really need to have your finger on the pulse. A, yes, You need to choose which area of banking you need to specialize in, but be increasingly conscious that it is a far more customer centric and a far more technology facing industry than it ever was. And therefore, from that perspective, you find banking industry itself hiring people from outside with those specialist technology skills, whether that's in cloud, whether that's in understanding customers, whether that's in even search marketing.
Okay. So thank you, Girish. Thank you for your time.